Hi, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Maddie. Welcome to Baddy Breakdowns, where we hang out, have fun, and play games all the way to the end. I like how you always go like that. Today we're going to talk about the Stanley Parable, which I realized until I started putting this episode doc together, I have been calling Stanley's Parable, which is not quite correct.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyways.
It's kind of like the Pike's Place nonsense.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll give you the breakdown from its creation to its critical reception, and then we'll take you on a deep dive into the game as we share our own experiences and opinions while playing it. We'll close with if we recommend it, who we'd recommend it to, and last but not least, our personal rating. With that, let's try to find our coworkers.
Okay. I'm right here, though, Maddie, so it's a little weird. But...
That was the best I could come up with. These are just not good lately. My brain isn't good.
I feel like it's more entertaining for me that they're so bad.
I have a bad brain. I have a bad brain. I need to return it.
You don't have a bad brain.
I need to return it. I would like a new one. Okay. Game description. That's me. Why did I say it like that?
I don't know.
Okay. The Stanley Parable is a first-person exploration game. You will play as Stanley and you will not play as Stanley. You will follow a story. You will not follow a story. You will have a choice. You will have no choice. The game will end. The game will never end. That's the game description.
Very thought-provoking.
I have so many. I am excited to talk to you about this game because I've got thoughts.
Good.
Cool. How it's made. Yeah, go for it.
So once again, I didn't really find a real documentary this time, but I did find a YouTube video, so we can link that one. I know. But the How It's Made, first and foremost, the Stanley Parable, the one in 2013, did release on my birthday. Isn't that fun?
Fun.
I know. So where was I on 2013? I don't know. I feel like I probably had a pretty
Sophomores
okay birthday.
In college?
Yeah. Was it my 21st birthday?
Yeah. No. That would have been your 20th.
It's my 20th birthday. Okay. A little bit less fun of a birthday, but that's fine. Anyway, Stanley Parable released October 17th, 2013, and it was made by Galactic Cafe. I actually really liked this How It's Made section because I had played the Stanley Parable before and didn't know any of this. And it was really fun because the Stanley Parable actually started off as a Half-Life 2 mod. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. I saw that when I was reading the critical reception stuff.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea because Chris was the one who told me about it first.
Nice.
And so I really had no idea the history of any of it, but it started off as a Half-Life 2 mod.
Played Half-Life? I haven't.
No, I haven't. Maybe
add
we
it
can
to our
do a
list.
podcast sometime.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
I want to play it.
Yeah, me too. It's been on my list.
But...
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
No, but the Half-Life 2 mod was made by Davey Reedon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Davey Reedon or Redden in 2008 is when he started working on it. And it took him about 3-ish years to complete, and it released in July 31st, 2011.
Okay.
The mod that was released, just as a fun fact, both the mod and then the final game ended up being released using the Source engine by Valve, which I've heard of, but I don't actually really know that many that use it, so it was kind of fun to just see a game use it. Primarily his inspiration for this mod was he played a lot of video games, and he was super interested in the games that had creative storytelling that made you, once you finish playing the game, kind of sit there and like put your game controller down and be like, oh my god, that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Exactly. And some of the ones that he had listed that he's inspired by and that he really liked were things like BioShock, Portal, Half-Life 2, the things that really, he just thought the storytelling was really, really creative. And he wanted to combine that creative storytelling with breaking expectations. The which I think you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked himself a lot, like, what if something happened? What does that look like? So he wanted to start off the game with a question. And his question that he used was, what would happen if you could disobey the narrator? And that's where the game kind of started. The perception of freedom and video games and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we can talk about, he said wasn't actually his main goal. Like, he didn't build it saying, I want
Oh,
to
that's
talk
so
about...
interesting because that feels like the most obvious thing that it's touching on. So it's
Yeah.
fascinating that that actually wasn't what he was doing.
Yeah, like, he built his way into that eventually, but he
Oh,
didn't
okay,
start
okay,
off with saying, like, yeah, but it wasn't like the beginning where he sat down and was like, I really want to figure out, like, what is it like to have freedom of choice in video games or limitation of choice. It was literally just like, what happens when you disobey the narrator? That's kind of fun. And he started there, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
So that mod released, got a ton of downloads. I think something along the lines of 100,000, like, very soon after.
Oh, okay.
In 2020, the numbers I found were around 450,000. So a lot of people downloading and playing this mod. And the mod was, like, really professionally done, in my opinion. He actually had that narrator's voice be a real human being person. Like, the narrator existed in this mod. The narrator voice, in case folks were curious, was Kevin Brighting. And it was really sweet the way that he... Yeah, the way that he talks about it was a lot of the mod and the effort that he put into it was really just, like, hard work and pushing through stuff. And he hadn't made a thing like this before. But finding Kevin was pure serendipity, was just the way that he said it. Like, he heard his voice in the audition, like, jumped around. He's like, oh my God, this is perfect, which was super cute. And the narrator voice was perfect. So
yeah,
agree. The last little thing that I'll mention around kind of the mod pieces is when the mod released, like, his main goal with the mod being released was to get jobs. He wanted to make his way into the industry, and he thought if he made this thing, he was going to, like, be able to start stepping into it. And when it released, he did get a lot of offers from big studios to say, hey, you know, come and work for us. Mm-hmm. But he ended up turning them all down because the idea of working for them at the end of the day was really boring and sad sounding, I guess. And he wanted to work with his own group of people. And decided instead to make his own studio with William Pugh. So what was really interesting about the things that I learned between William and Davey is together they formed Galactic Cafe, which was the studio that created the Stanley Parable. But they took the mod and they said, okay, let's remake it and let's put this stuff on top of it. Let's make it a more full-fledged thing. Let's tell this story. And they actually added a lot of different content. Originally, Davey wanted to make things like beat for beat exactly the same remake, but with William and Davey together thinking through it, they're like, no, we actually want to improve on it. We have more stories to tell. We have more things that we could do, more levels we can design. The interesting thing about the partnership between William and Davey is everything that I can see about them is they were really friendly and they got along well, but it seemed like the Stanley Parable maybe wasn't the best pairing for them in that once it actually released, even though they worked really well together, almost all of the fame went to Davey. Like, everything. There would be articles that were talking about the Stanley Parable game being released, and every single thing would always mention Davey. Davey was getting all of the credit pretty much everywhere, and William's name was almost never mentioned just because people associated the mod with this game. And so it was kind of passed off in a lot of the news articles and a lot of the social stuff that it was Davey who had made it by himself. And like, it was kind of interesting because Davey, on one hand, had a lot of stuff talking about how he actually didn't like the fame and was stressed about the spotlight. And on the other hand, William was really stressed about the fact that he was never in the spotlight, and it felt like years of work was just thrown down the drain. Like, he worked on this thing, he put his heart and soul in this thing, was working a ton into it, and then his name wasn't mentioned anywhere, which is kind of sad. But they were still friends. They did end up pairing up together again later to make the Stanley Parable Ultimate, Ultra Deluxe edition. So it's not like they were these vicious enemies. It's a really stressful situation. And it kind of sucked for William, it seemed, that he didn't get the kind of credit that he had really wanted, because both Davy and William talked about how they really did it together. They built that thing together. Like, Davy wasn't running around trying to take the credit. So a little interesting there. A couple of things that I'll mention
drama
because
filled.
I thought
sounds like a little
bit.
spicy. Like,
I
I feel like there's probably stuff that they're not sharing, but like I bet there's spice there.
Yeah. Well, it sounded kind of sad too, because
No,
William
that definitely sounds sad.
William wanted to work on games with Davy again after this, and apparently Davy didn't want to. And so Davy went off and made his own game, and then William went off and made his own studio. It actually worked with Justin Roiland, which is kind of funny, the dude from High on
Weird.
Life. But anyway, it was
who
very
made the Ultra
sad.
Deluxe edition then?
So they actually came back together and made it together. So both of them.
Oh, okay.
Their studios.
Great.
Yeah. So again, it's like drama, but not drama. So I want to know what happened, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
Final thing that I'm going to mention, just because it's the coolest thing that I've ever heard of, and maybe this happens a lot and I've just never seen it, and that's fine. But when they went to go release the Stanley Parable on Steam, they just went through the Steam Greenlight program. If you remember that, may it rest in peace.
I actually don't.
Do you know the Steam? Oh, so the Steam Greenlight program used to be the way that you could sell content on Steam. You would have to go through this process of pretty much getting your game on there and having users vote and say your game seems worthwhile to sell on Steam.
Oh,
yeah.
So it used to not be
remember,
like open publishing. It's
yes,
concept approval via the masses.
Yes. Exactly. And it was really cool. I remember writing, being stressed about Stardew Valley going through the Greenlight process, because I found that one really early. And I remember them saying, oh, we're going through the process. Let's see if we could do it. So it was kind of a fun thing, because it built community around the game, because people had to vote for it. But yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, once they got the Steam Greenlight, they ended up putting in some extra months to get their demo up. And that demo was actually a totally separate game, because they thought if they released a smaller version of the Stanley Parable, it would ruin the experience. Like, it would just ruin it.
That's so funny.
I know. So they made this whole separate version of like something that had the vibe of the Stanley Parable, but was just something totally different. Yeah. And I looked at some of the videos of it, because I haven't played it myself. And it was things like you had to wait in line, and, it was the same kind of, you walk around and things are a little bit weird, and you're trying to navigate through a mysterious, empty-ish environment in corporate America, whatever, or maybe not America, I don't know. But the actual game itself was not the Stanley Parable. And the cool thing that I loved on top of that was they actually, since this demo was this like special thing that they worked on, they made personalized versions of the demo to hand to different YouTubers at the time. And when you gave them, so Game Grumps is actually one of them.
Oh.
If you gave them this personalized version, the narrator would specifically address them, the people that they gave the demo to. Oh. So you would be like built into this demo, which was just the coolest thing that I've ever heard. Yeah. And so it got a ton of like Let's Players.
Oh, that's like a perfect marketing. Oh my, wow.
Right?
Brilliant.
It's so good. It was
brilliant
so
marketing
ingenious.
Strategy. Yeah.
I cannot believe I haven't seen somebody do something like that since then, because it is just so
when
cool.
we make our game, we'll do that.
Right? And like they said that it took extra months like to build this demo out the way that they wanted to, but man, the kind of hype that they got from it, and it seems very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Very impressive.
Anyway, yeah, so that's it. I just liked this one because it had a lot of weird fun facts that I didn't know. And
a little bit of drama.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, a little drama, a little come on, that demo is so cool. I don't know. It was cool. It was a fun one. What I didn't see, it didn't look like Davey had he only made one other game on top of the Stanley Parable. So I haven't actually seen him make any more than that. It was called The Beginner's Guide, I think. But
The
William
Beginner's Guide was
made quite a few.
I thought the Beginner's Guide was the Beginner's Guide to the Stanley Parable.
No, it was made after the Stanley Parable. It was just a different game. Yeah. Maybe it's related in some way, but I didn't see that. It came after.
Oh, got it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems similar in feel. Like looking at it. It looks like a similar vibe.
Yeah. I mean, it had a narrator too, but I think Davey was the narrator voice in that one, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Huh. Fascinating.
Yeah. So anyway, how it's made. I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. That was fun.
I know. It was a lot of fun fact ones.
Yeah. All right. Critical reception. So it got a 90 on Metacritic. So very high. 8.2 user score and very positive on Steam, both for the Ultra Deluxe Edition and the regular edition. They were both very similar in ratings. Common positives. It was very witty, unique, special, funny, exceptional writing, creativity, and a bunch of reviewers were calling it a masterpiece. And one reviewer called it one of the best games of all time.
Oh, that is high praise.
Very high praise, which I kind of want to talk about when we start digging into it a little bit more.
Ooh, that sounds spicy.
Common negatives were boring, repetitive, and pretentious.
Okay.
And those are mostly on the user side. I didn't find a single negative critic review. So that was really just summarizing the user negatives that were, present. Okay, I wrote out some funny reviews because it's a funny game. Yeah. After playing the Stanley Parable for a while, Stanley decided that he enjoyed it so much that he had to write a review. He would carefully deconstruct his experience and share his unique view and opinions in tremendous detail, until he finally summed it all up with a simple thumbs-up gesture. Proud of his critique, Stanley confidently clicked the post-review button. Isn't that great? That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I liked that one. Okay, and this is a two-parter, so I'm going to read the first one, and then I'm going to read the second one, which is like a riff on the first one that another user did. Honestly, I couldn't be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, the humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. The individual paths themselves are also not fun, not offering much to do throughout each path and requiring some rather tedious nonsense to get certain endings. I cannot recommend this game to anyone, even as a so bad it's good game, as you'll more than likely wind up bored by your third or fourth playthrough. Then somebody copied that and crossed out certain things so that it reads, honestly, I play this game to full completion. The narrator is funny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be entertaining. The individual paths themselves are also very fun, offering much to do throughout each path. I recommend this game to anyone, even as it's a good game, as you'll more than likely wind up your third or fourth playthrough. So they were just like selectively crossing out words in the review to make a new one. Because the one that I read out was the most upvoted negative review. And then it was funny because then they'll like the upvoted positive review right next to it was the one that I just read out. And so it just was funny how they managed to time that really well. So that was,
I really like it.
There's the reception.
Yeah, that's fun. I am interested to see what you thought about the game, since it sounds like you have kind of spicy thoughts.
I have mixed thoughts. Mixed thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to just dive in?
Yeah. First, did you play the Ultra Deluxe Edition or did you play the 2013 edition?
I wasn't paying attention and I didn't know there was an Ultra Deluxe Edition, so I just bought the regular one.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Okay. All right.
But I did, after I played for a bit, I looked online and saw some of the like ultra deluxe content because there's like playthroughs and stuff online. So I saw one of them was like added content or whatever. You walk through the door of added content.
Yeah.
So I saw some of that.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. First impressions.
Okay. First impressions. I loved the intro screen right off the bat. So for those who haven't played it, when you first open the game, it's kind of just it's a infinitely disappear. What are those called? Isn't there like a visual something or other that it's called? Essentially, it's a computer, and then you look at the computer, and the computer is your computer screen, and in that computer
it's
screen,
like the infinite mirror shenanigans.
Oh yes, infinite mirror. Yeah. So it's just like the computer screen within a computer screen, and blah 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 forever, until it's very very tiny, and it had these really this very ambient office noises that were really good. So I just thought it set the vibes off really well. And then jumping into it, the narrator starts giving you the backgrounds. Like it starts the same every time. It's like Stanley was an employee at whatever, and blah. Yeah. He was number 427, and he pushed in numbers every day, and blah blah blah. And it gave me Stranger Than Fiction.
I wrote that too.
You're clapping. So you agree?
I wrote that too. I was like, it reminds me of Stranger Than Fiction.
yeah, that Will Ferrell movie. It's so good. I loved that movie. So I thought that was really fun. And then when it first jumped in, I was writing my first impression notes, and I didn't move at first. And it was funny because almost like a minute after I was writing my first impressions, because I hadn't moved in the game, the narrator came over, because I had my headphones on, and he like came into my ears and was like, Stanley likes to stand in one spot for a very long time. And I thought that was pretty funny. And so it kind of set the tone. And first impressions was that it's Stranger Than Fiction vibes and pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally exactly what I said. I am a sucker for that kind of narration stuff. I don't know why. Yeah. It's just so fun.
It's so fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, and Stranger Than Fiction I also just loved. So when this popped on the screen, I will speak only positives of Stranger Than Fiction, even when people hate Will Ferrell, because I know a lot of people don't like Will Ferrell. I am like, no, if you watch this, you'll realize that he's actually like a good actor. And not
that
just...
movie's good.
Yeah, and so when this popped up, I was like, oh, I was so excited. There's something about narration over a simple humdrum life that makes me feel all these sorts of ways. I just like it. Yeah. And I remember, so this, of course, wasn't my first playthrough. I watched videos this time because I played this all a while ago. And during the playthrough that I was watching, I watched as they would do things like touch every single doorknob every single time. And I was thinking about how when I first started, the snark that went along with all of the silly things you did. So kind of how you were sitting in the room. The note that I actually took was when you touch all the doorknobs, it's like Stanley went around touching every doorknob, but he
said that to me too, because I did the same thing. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I really loved the snark, and narrator is just, I love the narrator.
Yeah. So yeah. It's very good. And I will say the first time I played, which I think it probably knows you're going to do this, but when it's Stanley walks through the left door, I walked through the right door. Of course, you got to walk through
Of course.
Yeah. So my first playthrough, I did, and again, actually, I'm going to pause really quick. This is now, from this point on, going to be pretty spoilery because the game's not very long. So if you don't want to be spoiled, play the game, come back, listen to this episode. But from now on, it is pretty spoilery because you can't really
Yep.
talk about much outside of the very beginning without spoiling the game. So,
Yep.
okay. Disclaimer done. Yeah, so you get to this first decision point and he's like, Stanley walks through the left door and I walked through the right. And he's like, oh, okay, so he took a detour to the staff room. Wow, isn't this great? Staff room with no one in it. And it's pretty funny. And then he's like, okay, now that the detour is done, he took the first door to the left. And I didn't do that either. And
Right.
I ended up weirdly on my first run through doing the apartment ending.
Oh, that's a
'Cause
weird one to get your first run through.
It was really weird and
Yeah.
really confusing. So I will say that one of the downfalls is because there's so many different endings randomly that you can run into.
Mm-hmm.
It might start you off on a weird way because it started
Yeah.
me off in a weird way. So the apartment ending, I'll sum it up. You essentially walk into your apartment. You think you have a wife, or the narrator says you have a wife.
Yeah.
And then you walk into the apartment and he's like, just kidding. You don't have a wife. You're a loser. And and you're dead and you're already dead. And it was very weird and very like existential and kind of scary, actually. Like that first end, it was like kind of scary. And I was like, wait, am I in like a kind of scary game? I don't know. Because you know what I mean? That ending is just.
Okay. I know exactly what you mean, and I'm laughing so much because the whole point of the ultra deluxe version is that pretty much every single ending has a second version of it because they give you a self-reassurance bucket, which we can talk about later, but it's literally because so many of the negative reviews that they found were, wow, this game is a little scary and a little existential. I don't know if I can handle it. And they're like, this time we're going to give you a bucket to comfort you.
That's
Like,
so
Maddie,
funny.
you should have held your bucket.
I should have held the bucket. That's so funny. Yeah,
but
no,
yes,
it was,
I agree with you. Very
yeah.
existential.
And it was kind of scary because it was also like, because I was playing with my headphones on my PC, and it was a lot of beeping, and it was kind of dark, and it was like just in my face, and the narrator was being really mean, and I was like, ugh. And I was a little confused, and I also
Yeah.
felt like I messed up. Like, I felt like I messed up. Like, I feel like I accidentally, ran into something that I wasn't supposed to yet.
See,
Not really
yeah.
knowing the loop of the game is just, like, you do it over and over
To
again.
find the endings, yeah.
It's not really... It's not a long game. So that first run-through was maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then... Maybe not even, actually. Like, maybe 15. I don't know what is time. And then the second time, I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything correct this time. And so then my second time, I followed all of the directions and got the actual ending where you get the achievement of you finished Stanley's Parable. So I actually think that's when I finished the game that I texted you. Like, I already finished the game. Like, I got the achievement that second time. But yeah, it was fun, and I played a couple more that we can talk about, but I think like after the first couple, I just started feeling a little bit like some other people did, where it was like, okay, I get it. I don't know if I'm finding this, and I think it's the curse of, it's like the Seinfeld effect, I think is what it's called, where Seinfeld, when you watch it, it's not funny because you've heard these jokes before, but it's because Seinfeld did it first. And so actually just because Seinfeld was like the OG of so many types of jokes and jokes in general, that when you watch it, having not watched it, you're like, this isn't funny. Like, this isn't funny anymore. Right? Like, Jerry Seinfeld was the first one to do the like airplane food. How about that joke? Right? And so now it's not funny anymore. But he was the first one to do it, and it was really funny the first time that joke was told. And so I think because I've played meta games at this point, maybe playing this, it felt less like aha or like magical than maybe it would have when it first came out in 2013, you know?
What other meta games have you played?
I figured you were going to ask that.
Sucker.
Let me think. Maybe
the only
not
one I
anything...
could think of was Superliminal. That's the only one I could think of. So I was curious if there were other ones.
Well, and Superliminal was almost different. It's more just, or like, I feel
Portal?
like meta content. Yeah, I've played Portal. I feel like meta content in general is just more common these days. You know what I mean?
Fair. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, it just didn't blow my mind like I thought it was going to, based on, like, I had been hearing buzz about it, like the critics had said, where it was like one of the best games of all time. So I think that like just didn't set me up for success. With it. You know?
I think that's fair. I think so. When I played it the first time, I like weird ass shit. Like, that's my vibe. If it's weird, then I usually really like it. Yeah. And when I jumped into it, I think I ended up, so I didn't follow their instructions. I went through the right door the first time because, again, they told me left and I was like, I wonder if I can just go right instead. So I did. But then when it gave like that second commentary, I remember I went ahead back on track because I wanted to see, it's kind of the weird puzzle person inside of me. But when I design puzzles, I design them with an optimal path. And I assume that there's some form of optimal path I should be taking. And in that moment, I was like, I feel like I want to see what that first optimal path is before I figure out the other stuff. So I went back. And they gave me an opportunity to go back. So I was like, I'll go back.
Yeah.
So I didn't have as a confusing of an experience, I think. But like, when I went through it the first time, I thought it was going to be more than what it was. Because when you get through,
it ended so fast.
Yeah, exactly. When you get like through that first end, so for folks that haven't played it or want a reminder, the like true ending, quote unquote, is you follow all these instructions. So you go up to your boss's office. He's not there. You type in a key code, which the narrator tells you in a very funny way.
Tells you don't even have to puzzle it out.
Yeah, he just tells you, and then if you wait too long, he'll literally just open the door for you and be like, and then the door opened. Wow, how did that happen?
That happened to me because I'm like writing notes. And so as I was writing notes and stuff, it opened.
Yeah, it just opened. Yeah. Yeah, so you'll get through your boss's office. You go down into what is pretty much like this big room with a ton of different screens of cameras watching people. You end up in a mind control facility where you're like, oh my God, people are being mind controlled. And then you have an option to turn the machine back on or turn it off and be like free. And so turning it off is the like true ending. You get to go outside and you get to escape. But when I was going through it, I love weird shit again like that. So when I got there, I thought that there was going to be like weird puzzle things because they had a whole room of blinking buttons with numbers.
I tried
which
to
is apparently
puzzle
not a
stuff
puzzle.
out. No,
yeah.
I tried to puzzle stuff out for like a couple of minutes, and I was like, wait, these are not doing anything.
Yeah, I tried so hard, and I think I did the ending with the bomb, which is when you say like, yes, turn the mind control machine back on. I did that ending probably 5 or 6 times because I was trying to solve the puzzle, and they give you a limited amount of time. And I really thought there was going to be more. I thought it was going to be more Portal-y, where there was like this whole bow wrap up of the story of like, this is what happened and this is the things going on. And instead it's still left very open ended. So for me, I really enjoyed the experience. I was really engaged with it. I tried to get all the endings I could, and we can talk about more of them. But in general, I was expecting more from the game. I wish I would have seen more, but I did value it for what it was. I just wanted more on top of it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I would say I feel pretty similarly because I was also expecting more. When I got to that first true ending, I thought it was going to do something else. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought like, oh, is it going to continue? Is it going to say psych? I don't know.
Yeah. And then it didn't. You just start
No,
over.
no. And I guess I will say there's something like artistic about that, right? Where
Yeah.
it ends so abruptly in a lot of these endings, and the loading screen I do really appreciate because it just says the end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate it for what it's doing. I guess I just had different expectations going in, which I always feel like expectations are such a killer, like, or a positive, right? Which is why even for the Barbie movie, I'm not watching any trailers. I'm keeping my expectations so low so that if I go in and it's not the most mind-blowing movie ever, I still have fun. Whereas if you go in expecting too much, you end up not having fun.
Yeah. I get that. I think so. I did get to go into it without really any expectations other than Chris saying, this is a game I think you'll like. And I do think that benefited me. I played when it wasn't under the time crunch of the podcast as well. So I spent a lot of days just running through and being like, oh, I'm going to try some new endings and whatever else. Without really grinding it all out one at a time. Although it is a really short game.
No,
but
it's so short. Even I played for 3 hours and I got most of the endings. Yeah.
So I do think that you missed out by not doing the Ultra Deluxe version.
Yeah.
So that was the one that I played. I didn't even realize. I thought Ultra Deluxe was going to be just maybe an upscaled HD thing. I didn't realize.
Well, that's what I thought
too.
Content. I mean, I kind of was like, I bought Stanley Parable and then I saw Ultra Deluxe after, and I was like, oh, should I try to figure out if I can upgrade? And it's a completely like new game. You can't upgrade. You're existing.
Yeah.
You have to just buy a new game, and I was just like, not worth it. If it's just gonna be like a refreshed,
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. And so I do think it probably contributed to take a step back. The way that the Ultra Deluxe kind of adds content on top of it is after you've gone through a couple of cycles, when you're walking down a normal hallway, it'll have this big neon sign and it says new content with like a light. And then you go through the new content and it's super lame. It's like a carnival ride thing where they give you the history of the Stanley Parable. You get a jump circle because apparently everybody really wanted to jump. And then you only get like a limited number. And then that like storyline lasts a long time.
Okay.
Because you get out of that storyline of the first, I got the new content, quote unquote. And then the next time it's like the narrator does weird shit. So you get new content. Like, I'm going to take you to this cabin with memories in it. Oh, we're going to do this now. And then when you restart again, it's like the sign says new content. And then he brings you into like this whole nother area that has like the Stanley Parable 2, and then your like title screen changes and it says the Stanley Parable 2 now, and you had like this whole additional area where you gather Stanley figurines or Stanlerines. They call them like so many weird names.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, like there's like a whole
I should have asked you before I bought it. Shoot.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that I did get kind of bored doing the, what do I do now? What's the door I'm looking for? Okay, where am I going? And I think by the time I was hit with the new content, it re-engaged me really fast. And then you get the bucket, and then all the endings are different, and the narration is really funny. So it kind of motivated me to keep trying for the different endings.
Yeah. No, seems like Ultra Deluxe is the way to go.
Yeah, I'd recommend it.
Okay.
But it's
like
spiced it up a little
$10, so I could just do it again. Buy it again.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Did you have a favorite ending?
I do. Oh, I was going to say the other one that I got after. So I did this kind of scary apartment ending, the first one. Then I did the good ending. And then the one right after that, I ended up in the garage with like the car that was on. And you walk in circles and circles
Infinite
and circles.
Yeah. You kept getting weird endings.
I got all these really and that's what I said. I was like, this game kind of scary. Like I just wrote down like it's kind of scary and freaky because it gets darker and darker, and like the narrator is mean to you again, and he's like, you're gonna die now, Stanley. And then you die and it's got like a red tint, and then it blacks out and you restart, and I was just like, wow, okay. I literally wrote, that was intense. Holy shit. um, okay. So here we go. Oh, and then that one also, the weird thing about the ending of that one is it zooms out and Mariella finds your body.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is happening in this freaking game? It's so bizarre.
It's a wild ride. I actually really liked that ending because I thought I was going to get more lore from it. I didn't, but I liked the ending.
No, it was good. Okay, so the two things that I really liked. Broom closet was hilarious.
Yeah. You got the broom closet ending?
Yeah.
I love the broom closet.
Yeah, that one is really good. So essentially, for those listening, the broom closet ending is you stand in a broom closet. Well, why don't you say it, because I'm talking a lot.
I'm just laughing because literally the line that how do I say this? You are trying every single door, right? Like, you tried every single doorknob, and eventually one opens, and it's a freaking broom closet.
Yeah.
And you stay in the broom closet, and you get slowly berated by the narrator about the fact that you're just fucking standing in a broom closet.
Yeah.
And eventually, to like force you out, he's like, oh, you got the broom closet ending. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. Are you going to go tell your friends, oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite. And it was my favorite.
It was my favorite. It was. Yeah, so that one was good.
How long did you stand there? Did you stand until he just stopped talking?
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Yeah, that one was good. And then
hold on.
Yeah.
When you stand in the closet with your reassurance bucket, he eventually attempts to bribe you by putting stickers on the bucket, and then he says, oh God, we need to escape. The bucket, or the room is calling for the bucket. It's a tool that needs to be in this room. The broom closet needs its bucket. Oh God.
That's so funny.
Honestly,
okay,
my favorite.
So I gotta
ending
do
in both versions.
the bucket stuff. That sounds great. Okay. I found the ending where the narrator is happy for a little bit.
Oh,
do you know that one? It's called the Spacey ending.
Oh, I don't remember that one super well because I don't think the Let's Player I saw did that ending. Do you want to describe it again?
Yeah, so, and then I have one more that I wanted to talk about. The Spacey ending is the only one where the narrator is happy for a little bit. And you go off track and you find a room that is literally just like outer space dome and ambient music. And the narrator is like, wow, we can finally be happy. Let's just stand here. And so you stand there and you can stand there forever. It just keeps going. Yeah, it just keeps going. And there's a door to exit. And when you exit, he's like, no, let's go back. And then you can go back. And he's like, see, isn't this nice? And then you exit again, and he's like, no, Stanley, no. And it's like the only time that the narrator is actually like sad and not mad, because what you have to do is you have to kill yourself to end that ending. And so you have to jump off the staircase over and over again and then finally kill yourself. And the first time you jump off, you don't die. And the narrator is like, oh, thank God you didn't die. Let's go back. And so then I did. And he's like, oh, I'm so glad you came back. Aren't you glad too? And then I went and then I did it again and again and again. And then finally when it died, he goes, are you happy? The only time that I've ever been happy you took away from me, or something really sad.
Then I feel like has some form of deep meaning, and I don't know what it is, right? Like, what is it? I don't know.
Well, it's just that you can't just be content with standing and doing nothing.
Yeah, you'd rather
you can
kill
only
yourself
do that.
over and over and over again.
You can only do that for so long, right? You can only stand in one spot and stare at space for so long. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Man.
And then the last ending that I just thought was really funny was the Other Games ending.
Did you ever
get that one?
What's that one?
So you go through you're doing all the things wrong.
Uh-huh.
And then you get to a point where he's like, okay, do you want to go through the red? Like, you want to go through the red door. And there's the blue door. And you go through the blue door. And you go through the blue door. And you go through the blue door. And then there's 3 door options. And one of them looks kind of like in development almost. And you walk in. And then at first it's this game where he's like, okay, to make this game more exciting for you, I added a game in it. And it's where you keep the baby from being burned up in the fire.
Oh, okay.
Have you done this one?
I did this one, but I did it with the bucket. So I don't actually know the version that you're talking about. That sounds horrifying.
Okay, so so the game
Keeping
is you keep a baby from fire, like a baby from burning, and you just have to sit there and push the button. And the game is 4 hours long. So you have to do that for 4 hours. I didn't do it for 4 hours. I let the baby burn. Because I'm not about... But apparently if you do it for 4 hours... I need to look up the ending on YouTube. But if you do it for 4 hours straight, you get another, like, good ending. Like you...
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go try that one out.
You're going to play it 4 hours. You have to push a button over and over again.
How hard could it be, right? Was it just like tap, 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 tap? You know what I mean?
But
I guess you could mess up at like 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Yes, and I was reading because I was like, is it actually something if you do this for 4 hours? And of course it is. But I was reading that if you mess up anytime...
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
That is harsh. I cannot believe people actually got the achievement.
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, so when the baby burns, he's like, oh, that game wasn't good enough for you. How about this one? And then it's Minecraft. And then you're playing Minecraft. Yeah, and then you're playing Minecraft. And then he's like, okay, I don't like this game anymore. Let's play this one. And then it's Portal.
That's fun. That's really fun. Yeah. How is he allowed to do that?
I mean, because it's parody, right? So
I guess that's
fair
true.
use.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
And the segments aren't for very long. Like, they're pretty short. Like he's like, okay, I'm tired of this game. When you start playing Minecraft, he's like, I'm tired of this, and takes you to Portal, and then in Portal you step through a portal and it doesn't go anywhere. And anyway, it's fun.
Yeah.
I thought that one was pretty clever.
Yeah. I think that one is fun. I'm a little sad that I played the bucket version of it because I think that version sounds better than the bucket version for what it's worth.
What's the bucket version? I feel like
the game that you play is like, is this a bucket? And you like, it has a conveyor belt and he rolls objects in, and the first one's a bucket, and you're like, yes, that is a bucket, and he's like, no, that's a holographic projection of a bucket. And then it comes to the next one and you're like, is this a bucket? And it's like, yeah, that's a bucket. He's like, no, that's a 3D printed model of what a bucket could be like. And you're like, but that means it's a bucket. And then the next one comes and it's like a tractor, and you're like, no. And he's like, oh, thank God, finally, like, you got one right. Like, that was an easy one. I would have been really embarrassed if you would have got that wrong. And then like a second tractor comes out and you're like, no. And he's like, that is a bucket. And then there's no explanation. And you're just like, mother.
That's funny. That's great. I mean, that's a good one too.
It's funny, but it's not whatever that mess was, which still sounded entertaining.
Yeah.
I feel like I was trying to, because we talked about some of my favorite ones already. I was trying to think of the ones that we haven't thought of. I think the most disappointing ending for me probably was when you get to the warehouse and you accidentally kill yourself. If you jump off the side of it and miss the walkway. That one was kind of disappointing for me because it looked like a whole little thing down there, and I was excited to get down there, and there were so many other weird things you could do that I was sad that one just kind of ended right there. It just like ended.
Yeah. I thought it was something because the car was on, like one of the warehouse cars was on, so I also thought there was going to be something down there.
Yeah, and then there was not anything. Like, for me, the things that I liked were the ones that felt like I had really worked to find the ending,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like it was, all the stuff was funny, and all the content I actually thought was pretty
Yeah,
entertaining.
yeah, yeah.
But the ones where I felt like I had to think outside of the box to get the ending that they wanted me to get were my favorites, just because I had
Mm-hmm.
to work hard for them, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And
I'll
it
look it up.
maybe is talking about gaming in general.
Yeah.
Commentary. Do you want to talk a little
What
bit
do you
about it?
think?
Because I think that
Yeah, I was gonna
like
ask.
let's
Yeah.
okay, so we've talked about what the game is, and I think we can talk about what it's doing. And I got pretty quickly that what it's doing is it's kind of a meta commentary on video games in general and about how
Yeah.
there is a perception of choice. And I mean, I guess you could zoom this out to life in general about there being a perception of choice, but maybe there's not really actual choice. And
Yeah.
I think that it was a fun commentary on that. I can see how people think that's pretentious, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you take it all the way up
It's like the whole
to
thing where
life.
yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
God. Like, it's like the atheism, like people that are just trying
Yeah.
to, like, they're like,
Ha ha ha.
gotcha. If
Yeah.
God could control things, like why is and that's a fine point. I'm not saying that it's not a fine point. It's just like a douchey point. You know? It's like I
It's
get
just
it.
ultimately douchey.
It's douchey and it's not that smart. Like you're not
No.
being that smart.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I agree that it feels pretentious when you level it up that way. I think where I leveled it up to was more like I leveled it up to the idea of not having choice within video games,
Yeah.
because a lot of games that we play, it feels like I should be able to do XYZ thing in the world that they've created. Like they create these linear paths in the way that you're supposed to play, and then they'll put things all along the linear path that you have, and it'll be like a 2-second detour that won't matter. You'll make choices, those choices won't matter.
Yeah.
You'll have like items or things that you're like, I should be able to interact with that, and then you can't. And it's kind of like this weird fake little world, and it makes it feel really weird and fake sometimes.
Mhm.
And I had leveled it up to like that of this guy maybe played all these video games on these linear paths and was annoyed that he had to do the thing that the game told him to do even when he didn't want to do it. Kind of like when we
Yeah.
were playing Doki Doki, and we were both talking about how we didn't want to answer in certain ways, and we're like, no, I wouldn't do that, and I don't want to do that, and
Yeah.
I would do something differently. And it felt like that for me. It felt
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
him questioning that aspect of the way that games are designed, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
And
no,
it seems less pretentious, maybe
Yes.
still a little pretentious.
but less totally. And I don't think that he was
Yeah.
trying to do the zoom out life thing. I agree. I
Yeah.
think the commentary on video games was quite fun. Like, and it's a fun point to think about, and we've all had that frustration when playing games. I think that's why games that are really sandboxy are so popular. Is
Yeah.
having things like that matter is something
Yeah.
that's just kind of innately something we connect with. And so, I mean, Minecraft is one of the biggest games in the world for a reason. Roblox is one of the biggest games in the world for Breath of the Wild, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's clever. I think it's clever commentary.
I liked it, but I will say that I don't mind the pretentiousness sometimes.
No, and
Sometimes
I
just
don't
think it's
either.
interesting.
I actually I feel like
Yeah.
I'm being down on it. I don't think that it was pretentious. I get the I get the thing that some people were
Yeah.
saying. I don't
Yeah. And
actually
I
think that
mean,
it went there. I actually don't think that this game went
there?
full pretentious. No.
Yeah. I think what helped it feel less pretentious for me was the comedic
Yeah.
ness of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really was freaking funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give you that there were definitely times where I felt like I was doing the endings just to say that I did them all or just to say that I could like keep going, not because necessarily I was like, wow, this is the most fun I've ever had in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed the newness of it to me and the like humor of it, and that to me made it feel less pretentious because it was just funny. It was just fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny
Yeah.
and fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
What more? What more do you want?
I think that is about it. I have one other mini thing that
Okay.
I thought I would mention just around the new content because I think it's really funny. And I won't spoil too much so that you can go play it, Maddie. But the end content or the ultra deluxe like content that they have has a big room eventually of all of the things that the narrator wants to add to the Stanley Parable 2. And in there, they have a bunch of different things. And one of them is did you notice that there's an achievement that just says like test achievement?
Yeah.
And that's all it says. Yeah. So in this version, the ultra deluxe version, they have a room in there that says new achievement, come here, get achievement immediately right away. And you can walk into the room and it has like a thing that says test achievement like unlocked and locked, and you're supposed to pull a lever to get the test achievement finally, but you can't actually pull the lever. And apparently I never got it, so I need to go figure out how to do it. I looked up a little snippet so I can try and figure out, because at this point I've played so many hours, I'm just like, I need to get through this. But there is a way in the ultra deluxe version to get the test achievement unlocked now, which is super fun and super funny. And I really love when studios do stupid shit with their achievements.
Yes.
I think it's so funny, and it makes me so mad when games don't do stupid shit with them. I'm like, come on, it's such a delightful part of the game, just do it.
Yeah.
And they really did. I loved it. The achievements were great.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it was good. But I think that's about all I had. The game is mostly about just finding and discovering those different endings. So it's really, it's a short and simple game.
Yeah, it's fun. All right. Do you want to do your final thoughts?
Sure. Final thoughts. I would call this game delightful. Like, it's a very delightful game. It's not a super complex game, so you shouldn't anticipate that. I would recommend it. I would recommend it to people who do like weird shit and who are willing to kind of take a step back and not be too serious about it and just, have something light and something a little bit fun. I know that it is very existential in places, but at the end of the day, you're just Stanley, and you're just a guy in an office and everybody disappeared. Like, it's a pretty creative and fun game. I, at the end of the day, would probably give it 4 out of 5 Stanley figurines.
I like it.
I know. And I think maybe when I had first started playing it, maybe it would be a 5, but I do remember by the time I was like a few hours into it, it didn't feel like a 5 to me anymore. It felt a little grindy. So I will go down to a 4, but I did think it was a really interesting and creative game. So 4.
Yay. My final thoughts. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think, unfortunately, it got a little overhyped for me. I would still recommend it, but just recommending it with the right expectations, I think.
Yeah.
Is mostly just what I would caveat. And also make sure you get the Ultra Deluxe edition, I guess, if you're saying it adds a good amount of stuff. And the prices aren't very different. Like, I just went and looked at Steam. And they're almost the exact same price. So if you're getting, more game for the same price, then you might as well. I gave it a 3 out of 5 narrators. I know. I think if I could do a 3.5, but It's just
we don't allow that here.
We don't allow that here, and I can't give it a 4. I don't know. It was just, and maybe it's also just like the mindset I'm in this past couple weeks. Like it's, I don't know. It just didn't. I was excited to get my mind blown, and then because that didn't happen, I think that's
it felt
just
more
where,
like a letdown.
Yeah. And I think just like
okay.
it's been like life has been stressful lately, and so I was excited about the prospect of playing a game that would really like immerse me and like blow my mind. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm laughing because I'm like, well, up next you get Harvest Moon, or you get my little fun
No.
farming game. So
No, I
your
mean,
mind will be blown.
there's, it's just a difference of expectation, right? Like, I
Right.
think it's just like what you're looking for. And I think eventually I really want us to play Outer Wilds because I've heard that that's pretty mind blowing. So
Yeah, I would love to play that. I watched someone play apparently like the last 10 minutes, but good news is that was years ago and I wasn't really paying attention.
Great.
So
Okay.
hopefully it's not feeling super spoilery. I'll remember. No, I'm not going to say it. But like I don't
No,
think
don't say
that
it.
I
Okay.
remember enough to be spoiled. But I would love to do that one because I've heard that one is like awesome.
Okay. Yeah. And exactly. And I think here, I'll give another example. When we played Obra Dinn, I was kind of mind blown about that game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
I sat there the whole time going, what?
Yeah. And I think it
Yeah.
just had those moments of like, bum, bum. And I thought this game was going to have that. And so I think that's just where the disconnect was.
Yeah.
I
think
still
it's
really
fair.
liked it. I still really enjoyed it. I'm going to play it again. I'm going to like try to find some other endings. I think it's funny, but yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Since I had different expectations, I definitely think that impacted it. But yeah, I agree.
All right. That's it. It's a short one today. It's a short game.
Yeah, it is. It is a short game, and that's
Which is
okay because we
nice.
both had long weeks.
Yeah, recommend it for people who don't have a lot of time and want to play a funny game.
Yeah. I would also recommend it to people who like stupid comedy and things reacting to the things that you do, because that actually was really fun.
I like that too.
I thought it was really funny that one of the devs, William, worked with Justin Roiland because the commentary from High on Life with the Guns kind of felt similar.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
the narrator.
So they actually feel like a pretty interesting pair.
Did he work on High on Life?
I'll have to play their game. No, they played, they built Accounting, is what it's called.
Oh, yeah, Accounting.
Yeah.
I remember that from how it was made from that episode.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and rate it. Smash that subscribe button. Just get YouTube in there. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Baddy Breakdowns, and visit our website, baddybreakdowns.com, made by Bridget. The podcast art was done by the lovely Tanisha Vernicar, and the podcast was edited by me, Maddie. Join us next time to hear us two baddies break down. What is it called again? A Story of Seasons? That's what I wrote.
Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life.
A Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life.
From 2023, not the original Harvest Moon version.
The remake.
Doing the new one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
I'm excited.
So excited. I've already put like 30 hours into it, Maddie.
Holy shit. I gotta catch up.
Yeah, you do. So what I will say, and I'm going to say this for everybody else here listening too, in case they like to play the games before we do that.
Because it's like a book club style.
Yeah. So if you do, I 100% recommend that you play through the first year at least. Because this game, what is interesting about it is the player and the people around you age up as the time passes.
Oh.
Yeah, and so the reason I'm saying that now is because it's going to take some time to get through the first year, but I would try and do that for everybody just so you can start to get an idea of what that aging up looks like. But yeah.
Cool. Fun.
Yeah. It'll be fun. I'm really excited.
Yay.
I'm excited for you, Maddie. And I'm also excited to see how people feel about it if they didn't play the original, because I just feel
I haven't played the original.
So. Yeah, we'll find out.
Okay,
Hang on.
fun. All right.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks, guys.
everyone.